Devika Lotram. Devika Lotram is the greatest. Invocation. Meditate in the heart upon Lord Ganesha, the silent, non-dual, universal witness, who is the nectar of divine bliss and is full of grace. He shines as the bountiful flowering of aspirants who follow the path of spiritual wisdom revealed in Devika Lotram, which was revealed by Lord Ishvara to Goddess Ishwari. Devi. O Lord of all celestial beings, I yearn to know that path of supreme wisdom and the codes of contact by which one can attain liberation so that all the people in the world may attain salvation. Out of your compassion, I beg you to teach them to me. Ishvara. O Queen among women, so that everyone may attain knowledge, I shall clearly explain to you today the highest wisdom and the methods, though difficult to describe, by which the discerning seekers of wisdom can attain liberation free from any blemish. O Lady of fair countenance, understand that one who is not able to realize the truth in his heart by this knowledge of spiritual wisdom known as Kala Jnana can never attain it even by studying hundreds of crores of Shastras spanning the heavens. Therefore, let the wise man be fearless, undoubting, free from desire, earnest, resolute, and persevering in jnana as explained here. O Divine Mother, claiming nothing as mine, filled with compassion, giving protection to all living beings so that no creature fears you. Yearn for liberation and be absorbed in the yoga. Study this work called Devika Lotram and follow wholeheartedly and steadfastly the single path shown within this. He who is able to bring his mind under control is Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. He is Indra, king of the Devas. He is the six-faced Skanda. He is the Guru of all Devas. He is the supreme yogi who has performed every austerity. He alone is truly learned, for he has achieved the supreme spiritual goal, whose mind is no longer unstable like air but is held firm. The means by which this mind, which is restless and moves about quicker than the wind, can be brought under control is indeed the means to liberation and is good for those who seek the permanent reality. It itself is pure consciousness and that state of firmness. It alone is the righteous duty to be observed by the discerning seekers. It alone is the pilgrimage to the holy waters. It alone is charity. It alone is austerity. Know that there is no doubt about this. When the mind moves even a little, that is samsara. When the mind abides firmly and motionlessly in the state of the self, that is mukti. This is certain. Therefore, know that the wise man must hold his mind firm by the supreme self-awareness. The happiness attained in this solitariness is the highest bounded bliss. What learned person will not reveal in that supreme reality in which there is absolutely no action? What learned person will not revel in that supreme reality in which there is no absolute action? Tell me. Being rid of worldly knowledge and having acquired pure wisdom, formless and all-pervading, in which there are no sense objects, the great hero is sure to achieve everlasting moksha even if he does not consciously seeking it. The consciousness, that is the Chaitanya associated with the aspect I am, is called the Sakti. The universe shines by its light. The whole of creation is Sakti Sankalpa. The state free of all such attachments is the pure state of wisdom. The void, which is without parallel, which is the effulgence of pure wisdom, completely devoid of the visible phenomena, and which consists of the aspect I, is considered the seed of liberation. The experience of that impulse wants to start on the path of union with the Supreme. Do not waste time meditating on the forms of Lord, the various chakras, the nadis, the deities associated with the lotuses of the chakras, sacred syllables or mandalas. Those who seek everlasting liberation should not engage in repeating various sacred syllables, mantras, breath control like pranayama, breath retention, kumbhaka, or concentration. Neither is there room for performing puja, paying homage, chanting, meditation, and the like. Hear it from me, the highest truth acclaimed in the Vedas can be known only through jnana. There is absolutely no need to know anything outside oneself. For those whose minds are constantly externalized and clinging to the external objects, the seeds of bondage invariably take root. If the outward wandering mind is turned inwards, to stay in its natural state, one overcomes the suffering in the world. Unite with that one totality which is all pervasive, which has no within or without, up or down, midway or sideways. It assumes all the forms in creation and yet is itself formless. It is self-luminous and can only be known by itself. Since whatever a person sees, thinks of, and seeks to accomplish by his actions influences his destiny, let him meditate on that which is beyond perception and even imagination. In reality, there is neither cause nor effect, nor any action, nor does anything actually ever happen. There is neither a world nor a dweller in it. The individual and his attachments are in fact non-existent. The universe has no external support, nor is it cognized from without. The yogi, with his mind turned inward, merges with his whole by making every object in the world one with it. Know this. The one who fails to meditate on this great, all-pervading void, formless and vast like the sky, gets entangled in samsara, like the silkworm caught in its own cocoon. Understand this. Living beings of whatever sort undergo misery again and again. Hear it from me. In order to avoid all the sufferings and sorrow, one should meditate even on the greater void. Good conduct, various rituals, and the disciplines associated with them have been prescribed in order that knowledge might be born in the seeker. One should abandon all paths which are based on external supports and meditate solely on the reality which is beyond the world. Only the valorous who, with the arrow of Sunya Bhava, have pierced through all the regions from the highest to the nethermost, are considered knowers of the void. The mind hankering after the things of this world is more restless than a monkey. If one controls it and one is established in the state of Sarva Sunya, one will attain liberation directly. The fullness of consciousness is none other than the true meaning of the word I. Though quite other than the sense I am the body, it is not different from the basic principles of which the world is made. It is all-pervading reality. O my beloved lady, this complete wholeness pervades all creation within and without like formless space. Those who are submerged in this blissful state become the supreme bliss themselves. See how wonderful. The outgoing mind dissolves of its own accord when deprived of anything to hold on to, just as the fire dies down and goes out when deprived of the fuel. Turn away from the confusion, delusion, ignorance, dreaming, sleeping, and waking. For the Supreme is different from the gross body, different from the subtle prana, from the mind, from the intellect, and the ego. Meditate on that consciousness and become one with it. The mind often strays into daydreams or falls asleep. One should be vigilant and turn it back to its pristine state again and again. When once the mind becomes steady, it should not be disturbed in any way. There is no need to think of anything else. One should fix the mind firmly in that state of self-awareness and keep it still. The mind always clings to some external support, like sense organs. One must remove all such attachments and supports. As the mind has the tendency to wander, one should make it motionless. Once still, one should not disturb it in the slightest. At the time of the dissolution of all beings, only a blemishless sky will remain. One should meditate on one's own form as all-pervasive and pure as that blemishless sky. By stilling one's mind, restless like the wind, one fulfills life's highest purpose, the aim of all spiritual study. In meditation, neither focus the mind on what is up, down, in the middle, nor within. By avoiding internal distractions, thoughts, one frees the mind of external distractions. If the mind becomes drowsy, awaken it. If it wanders, retrieve it. When you reach the state where there is neither drowsiness nor movement, remain there. When the mind is left with nothing to cling on to, does not clutch to anything, and is completely free of changing states, this is the sign of liberation. Dispelling all attachments and fixing the mind firmly in the heart, pure, clear awareness arises. Persist in the practice of that awareness. Those who meditate on the supreme void and become established in it through constant practice will reach the supreme abode, which is beyond birth and death. Gods and goddesses, demigods and spirits, merits and demerits and their fruits, knowledge of causes and effects, all these lead to bondage in samsara. All dependencies are said to lead to pairs of opposites, happiness and misery, good and bad, profit and loss, that is duality. It is when one turns away from them that the highest realization results. One who realizes thus is the Jivan Mukti, liberated while alive. On discarding the body, he becomes Viveka Mukta. A wise man should not willingly give up the body even out of vairagya. With the cessation of the prarabdha karma, the body will automatically drop away of its own accord. The consciousness which shines as I in the lotus of the heart is pure and perfectly still. By destroying the ego, this consciousness bestows the supreme bliss of liberation. Be assured of this. By constantly meditating with great devotion, I am that Siva who is completely free of all limitations. One overcomes all the attachments. One should give up all notions of country, caste, and ashrama, and ever contemplate the self, one's own true state. I alone am. No one belongs to me, nor do I belong to anyone. I see no one who can call me his, neither do I see anyone who is mine. I alone am. Know that the one who experiences the firm conviction, I am the Supreme Brahman, Master and the Lord of Universe, is the real Mukta. All other experiences lead to bondage. The day one is able to see oneself with the inner eye as other than the body, all desires vanish and perfect peace is gained. He who is described in the scriptures as the unborn, ever-existent Lord, I am He, the Atman, who is forever beyond form and attributes. Let there be no doubt about it. I am pure awareness, immaculate, perfectly liberated, and forever present everywhere. I am unlimited. No one neither grasp me nor lose me. I am not determinable by logic or reasoning. I am free from sorrow. I am always Brahmamayam. I am the self which is consciousness absolute, self evident and deathless, and entirely beyond this insentient body, bounded by its covering of skin and occupying the space between the top of the head and the soles of the feet. By thinking I am the Lord of all creation, moving or motionless, I am the father, mother, and grandparents of the universe. Aspirants for mukti meditate upon me, who is that great Turiya state. I am the one who is worshipped through sacrifices and penances by all celestial beings, beginning with Brahma, the creator, the sought after heavenly damsels, humans, yakshas, gandharvas, nagas, and the other group of superhuman beings. Know that everyone worships only me. Through various austerities and charities, everyone worships only me. Know that all this vast creation is nothing but me, the infinite one. I am neither the gross, nor the subtle, nor the causal body. I am the kinsman of the universe. I am of the nature of transcendental knowledge. I am the eternal one. I am the Lord, the timeless one. I am not bound by the three states of waking, dream, and sleep, but transcend all creation. Beginningless consciousness is unborn, whole, formless, pure, and beyond the world. It resides forever in its natural home in the cave of the heart. It is beyond any comparisons and completely unattached. It cannot be comprehended by the mind, nor it can be seen or felt by the senses. Repeatedly see, I am He, the Brahman, the eternal, omnipresent reality. Meditate thus at length, for whoever abides imperturbably in this truth will themselves become the supreme Brahman and attain immortality. Noble lady, I have expounded to you the nature of the knowledge needed to gain liberation. Listen now to the conduct to be adopted by the seekers. O Queen among women, know that bathing in holy waters, repeating holy names, performing daily homas, worship, and oblations with fire, as well as other disciplines following lengthy study, are all not required. Niyamas, the worship of deities in holy places, nama, archanas, pitrukarmas, pilgrimages, and the observance of vows, none of these are required for the one who aspires to the highest knowledge. He does not reap the fruit of actions, good or bad. Important dates and special observances followed by the world are not for him. He is absolved of every kind of action and code of conduct. Let the aspirant give up conventional usages, religious practices, and caste duties, since they are but chains of bondage for him. Even if the seeker acquires supernatural powers, such as visualizing what is buried beneath the earth, and can demonstrate them, he should reject them entirely. All these powers only bind one to ego and individuality, tempting one to a lesser path. The supreme joy of liberation does not lie in any special power, but in the infinite consciousness. One must engage in yoga, abiding in the self, in all circumstances, without allowing any special event to affect one adversely. If doubts and delusions arise in the form of desire to worship in holy places and temples, reject them immediately. Listen to me, lady. Know that only the wise man who never harms any form of life, whether insects, worms, birds, or plants, is a person seeking true knowledge. One should never uproot any tree or plant, nor even merely pluck its leaves. Neither should one harm any living thing out of anger. One should not pluck even one flower mercilessly. The worship of Lord Shiva should be done using only flowers that have fallen from the trees of themselves. One should never indulge in black magic, curses, hypnotism, arousing evil spirits, spells causing enmity between people, and so on. The worship of stones, wooden objects, and similar articles should be avoided. Having given up the mudras, which are used for worshipping the devatas in holy places and temples, and other related practices, one should get rid of the vasanas which may have accumulated on account of such practices in the past, and cling only to the self, the all-pervading real consciousness. Maintain a neutral attitude towards all the things. Do not get infatuated with anything. Maintain equanimity whether in happiness or suffering. Be the same to friends and enemies. Treat alike a piece from a broken clay pot and a piece of gold. A yogi should not be swayed by desires or yield to gratifying the senses, and should be free from the delusion of treating things as mine. He should revel in the self alone, free from fear or desire. Equanimity must always be maintained, whether praised or slandered. Equal conduct must be observed towards all creatures, and there should be no discrimination between the self and the non-self. Disputes, worldly associations, and quarrels should be avoided. Not even spiritual disputations should be indulged in, whether good or bad. Jealousy, slander, pomp, passion, envy, love, anger, fear, and misery should all disappear gradually and entirely. If a man is free from all the pairs of opposites and always lives in solitude, established in himself alone, he gains perfect wisdom even while in the present body, and shines forth with great effulgence. Liberation is attained only by true knowledge. By siddhis, such a result is unattainable. However, deluded aspirants become enchanted with worldly enjoyments and supernatural powers and strive after them. Know that a pure and flawless person will experience the Supreme Brahman and attain liberation, whether he has supernatural powers or not. The body is constituted by 5 elements, and Shiva dwells there. Hence, all manifestations, right from the indivisible, all-pervading Shiva down to the earth, all forms of Shankara. My dearest one, earnest seekers who see the enlightened one and worship him with mind, speech, and body in unison, and who offer him with heart-melting devotion, sweet-smelling sandal paste, fruits, flowers, incense, purified water for bathing, clothes, and food, will attain liberation. Know that those who worship that Jnani will reap the fruit of his righteous deeds, and those who slander him will reap the result of such sins. I have revealed the truth about the supreme knowledge and the conduct pertaining to it, as you have asked. This entire path is indeed Kalotra Jnana. Tell me, O lady, if you want to ask anything more. This treatise, as translated by the ever-liberated Sri Ramana, provides the supreme beacon light for the wise. Thank you.